Hi, I'm Lisa Prather, and welcome to The Voice of Health with our host, Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where lives are changed every day through the natural approach to healthcare. Well, today we're talking about the myth of antibiotics. And what is meant by, the myth of antibiotics?
Well, antibiotics, as they've done with surveys with people, with doctors, professionals, there is this myth that antibiotics kind of solve all your problems. It's, well, I went to the doctor, and the first thing people say is, well, did you get an antibiotic?
Yes.
As if all your problems are going to be solved with an antibiotic. Mm-hmm. So there has been this myth of antibiotics, and actually understandable, because we had these diseases that were, if you actually caught them, it was pretty much a death sentence. And antibiotics came about, in wide use about 1945, and there was just this great relief because so many different types of real serious types of illnesses were taken care of, that antibiotics began to have this mythology about them, that if we could just get the right antibiotic, then, we can solve almost anything. Mm-hmm. And that's really not the case. So it's more of a mythology than it is factual. So trying to break this myth of antibiotics as a cure-all and an overall panacea for our problems is something that is being worked on right now. It is seen as a problem, both with the public and with doctors. And so, trying to get that information out there is one of the things that we want to break the myth of antibiotics.
So why are we doing this topic now on the radio show, this topic of antibiotics?
Well, we got, one of the things is we get a lot of feedback from our radio program, and we were getting it both from our patients, public, and also we have quite a few other doctors who actually listen to our show. And one of the most common types of things that is prescribed for, with antibiotics is the ear infections, which we were talking about, and talking about some of the alternatives, and there's this, again, a myth that the answer to an ear infection is antibiotics. So we were getting some questions about that, some feedback. So again, and we had several patients who we're talking about whether they needed an antibiotic. There's a lot of infections going on. So it just seemed like a timely type of a subject and something that we could answer on the radio.
Well, does the Prather practice prescribe antibiotics?
A very good question, and actually we do. One of the things is that there are very specific guidelines for prescribing antibiotics, and there's quite a few different types of guidelines out there. There's one put up by the Center of Disease Control, Johns Hopkins, Mayo, a lot of the different types of good research facilities have requirements for antibiotic prescriptions. And I am not the expert on the antibiotics because I'm obviously a chiropractor. I do a lot of nutritional type of work, but pharmaceuticals, of course, I do not prescribe. But we do have a medical director and a nurse practitioner on staff, and they have actually a guideline that they follow on antibiotic prescriptions. So we do prescribe antibiotics. Again, one of the things that I really like to clarify on people is that we are not, even though we are a structure function office, we are not anti-pharmaceutical in the least, and especially not antibiotics. As a matter of fact, one of the things I look at antibiotics is antibiotics are a resource, a precious resource that we are quickly destroying. Because we are over-prescribing. So, it is something that, we need to follow. to follow the guidelines for antibiotics.
So you feel that antibiotics are being overprescribed right now?
I do, but nobody really cares what I think.
I do.
Well, I thank you for that. It's actually the Center of Disease Control has said that antibiotics are being overprescribed. Johns Hopkins, all the major research facilities are absolutely saying that antibiotics are being overprescribed.
Don't you talk about, how the gentleman that created the antibiotics?
Yes.
Right? He would actually be appalled at their overuse.
Absolutely,
correct?
Absolutely. The really good researchers who are very aware of how things work and the creative people and the ones who really are the drivers and shakers in healthcare and in medicine and in antibiotics realize that it is something that if you overutilize antibiotics or use them wrong, then you actually destroy them as one of the weapons in our arsenal. So it's very important that we look at antibiotics and see, what are the dangers, what are the pitfalls, what are the problems that are associated with that, because there are definitely issues that can occur with overprescription of antibiotics where we're destroying the health of the individual and of our society. Also, if we overuse antibiotics, we're not going to have those antibiotics anymore because the bacteria will be resistant, and it's occurring very quickly.
So how are we overprescribing antibiotics? You had mentioned, people go to the doctor and they want an antibiotic.
Sure.
For anything.
Sure.
Am I right there?
Yeah, they did a lot of research on antibiotic prescriptions and actually checked to see if there was consistency, if what was going on, and they found that the busier the doctor is, the more insistent that the patients are, the more likely they are to get an antibiotic. So a lot of it actually comes from the patients, where the doctor has 6 minutes to deal with the patient, and the patient's demanding an antibiotic, and to be able to sit down and explain, hey, this may not be the best course for you, this could actually cause a problem, takes time. Whereas just writing a prescription for the antibiotic and then sending them on their way because they're happy now is a whole lot easier. So there is an awful lot of issues, even when the physician knows that the antibiotic probably is not the best thing for the patient at this point, or for the infection. They oftentimes still write the prescription. Matter of fact, there were 258 million courses of antibiotic prescribed in 2010 out of 309 million people.
Say that again?
There was 258 million courses of antibiotics for 309 million people that was prescribed. That's 833 antibiotics for every 1,000 people.
In the United States?
In the United States.
Wow.
Yes, and the Center of Disease Control says, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. There is not, they know how many people actually get infections that should get an antibiotic. And this is just way out of line. In other words,
883 people don't have infections out of 1,000.
That should get an antibiotic. Yeah, that should get an antibiotic. That is ridiculous, and it's unfortunately it's becoming more common. In other words, it's not dropping as it should with the ability to do the diagnostics, to do the checking. We should be reducing it. Matter of fact, the Center of Disease Control has for 2016 a Get Smart Week
with antibiotics.
Yes, November 14th through the 20th, which we will be definitely, talking about this and putting information out, where it's just a week that they are dedicating, because they consider this such an important type of problem, that they're dedicating sort of an antibiotic week to try to educate the public and facilities and doctors and even farmers to the proper use of antibiotics, because we are fast destroying our ability to have antibiotics that are actually effective. And this is going to be a crisis that will need to be dealt with.
Okay, when we come back, let's talk more about the myth of antibiotics. You can win a free 60-minute massage in a relaxing spa at the Prather practice. Each month, we have a drawing to give away a free massage to one of our lucky Facebook and Twitter fans. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather practice.
What I'm talking about today is the Atlas orthogonal technique, which is very dear to my heart. The Atlas orthogonal technique is really what saved my life. I had Graves' disease and was having a lot of difficulties with it. And I went and had an Atlas orthogonist adjust my neck, and within 3 months, all my health problems were actually gone. So that's at the time that I decided to dedicate myself to the pursuit of people's health, because I had such a relief along this. And the basis and the cornerstone of my practice is the Atlas orthogonal technique, which is a specific adjustment to the cervical spine, concentrating on the atlas as a lever mechanism. The area of the atlas, occiput, and axis is the most important area of your body. It is the lower brainstem, which controls all the autonomic nervous system, the whole nervous system that is beyond our mental control, and it is considered by the body as the most important area. Any type of an injury to that area will cause instantaneous death. So looking at that and working with it can have a very, very huge impact on people's health and well-being. I actually was able to go with an intern with Dr. Sweat, who is the originator of the Atlas orthogonal technique, and was able to be involved in the complete development. I was in the original 6 who was trained in that. I am at this point the only board-certified Atlas orthogonist in the state of Indiana. It is a 3-year postgraduate work and can have a huge impact on people's health. Matter of fact, I consider that probably the most important thing that you can do to have the biggest impact on your health is to actually have your atlas put back into proper position. That is something that someone needs to have done, to have checked, and make sure that that's good, and should be checked at least once a year.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather practice, restoring hope. You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest. Well, we're talking today about the myth of antibiotics. And Dr. Prather, this sounds like a serious matter. If not, it's a serious matter now. It will be.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is actually considered a serious matter now.
And we're talking about overuse of antibiotics.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it is considered, the Center of Disease Control has called it a crisis. Now, can the crisis get worse? Yes. Mm-hmm. But we are in a crisis, and we are not making the progress. The goal of the Center of Disease Control is to reduce antibiotics by 1/3.
That's their goal.
That's their goal. The stated goal that they want to do that. It should be more than that, But that was sort of a minimum type of a reduction that they see that would be a reasonable type of a goal to try to accomplish.
So they're trying to do this through this Get Smart Week and educating the public?
Yes, they've got quite a few different types of brochures that they want doctors to hand to patients. So, in other words, they're trying to make it easier for doctors to say no to a patient when they ask for an antibiotic. So they've come up with quite a few different types of excellent brochures that the doctor can just pick up, hand the patient, and said, I want you to read this first, and then we can talk to you further about possibly getting an antibiotic. But I don't feel that this would be the best, and this is something that you can read on why. That way the doctor doesn't have to go through and sit down and explain the whole thing, because the time crunch was one of the things that they found was probably the biggest issue for doctors on being able to keep patients from demanding antibiotics when they shouldn't be getting them.
So are there different prescribing patterns
yes.
In doctors?
Yes, they found that older doctors give out about 2 to 3 times more antibiotics than younger doctors who are just out of medical school.
Okay. Yeah, what's an older doctor?
Sort of like me, but I don't actually give out the antibiotics. And it's just a difference in as they're going through medical school now. They don't. In other words, in medical school, they're debunking the myth of antibiotics. In other words, that is something that they put into the curriculum. Whereas before, the doctors said, well, the answer is an antibiotic. Now they're educating the medical doctors that is not something that should be done. Also, they found that the more patients that the doctor actually sees, the more likely they are to hand an antibiotic out. That's another different type of thing. Also, socioeconomic. They find that the poorer that the patient is, the more likely they are to hand them an antibiotic, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of different types of prescribing patterns. In other words, not all doctors are equal. In other words, people think, well, if I go to my doctor and I have an issue, no matter which doctor I go to, I'll get the same, answer and prescription and diagnosis. And unfortunately, there couldn't be anything further from the truth. In other words, they took the same patients and took them to 10 different doctors, and none of them agreed on, at that time, which one should have an antibiotic.
Wow.
Or the percentage. One doctor only prescribed 10% of the patients that came in needed an antibiotic, where the other doctor gave like 90%.
Okay, interesting.
And they were different. So, there can be a lot of difference. So having guidelines on that is really important. Now, of course, those guidelines, are at times being changed, but there are very specific guidelines on when you should be giving antibiotics.
And isn't it really important to diagnose what is going on?
Absolutely. We always do a CBC with a differential to find out.
That's a blood test.
That's a blood test. In other words, we want to make sure, first off, that it's a bacterial infection. We need to have the definite criteria that go along with that. We need to have an idea of what their immune system is. Do they have any kidney or liver issues? Because that affects, which ones we do. Do we need to do a culture, find out exactly which bacterial that we're dealing with? Because there are very specific antibiotics for different bacteria. Really avoiding broad-based antibiotics because, it just kind of wipes out everything. So, making sure that the antibiotic is actually effective.
Right. One, finding out what exactly is going on.
Yes.
You're congested. Here's an antibiotic.
Right.
You feel awful. Here's an antibiotic.
I had a patient come in recently. We were talking about ear infections before. And the doctor had prescribed antibiotic for this particular child. And it was basically a teething issue. The ears had swollen up, there wasn't even a viral infection. It was just congestion from teething, because there's a lot of inflammation. And that should be treated completely different. So there are very specific types of things to give a child for teething to reduce the inflammation and the earache that's developed from that. We gave those, and because they'd already taken them to an MD, had given them a prescription for an antibiotic, they had not filled that. And the next day, it was, everything was gone.
Yeah.
Whereas if they had used the antibiotic, that would have started, they find that children who shouldn't be on an antibiotic, who get an antibiotic, have 3 to 6 times more likely to get actual bacterial infections. So giving an antibiotic at the wrong time can actually weaken the immune system and really lead to the problem that you're trying to avoid.
Now, what about the problem we have here in North America, that quick fix?
Oh, yes.
I just, my girlfriend wasn't feeling well, and, I said, if there's anything we can do to help you, well, I'm just going to go and go to the med check, get an antibiotic.
Right,
yeah.
Panacea.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel better on an antibiotic.
Yeah.
That's the myth of the antibiotic. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay. So what problems could it cause if it is not either the right antibiotic or...
Sure.
Because there is a time and a place for antibiotics. You're not saying that.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Matter of fact, it's not that I don't respect antibiotics. It's because I do. And, thank God that we still have antibiotics. And hopefully our next generation has antibiotics too. So, couldn't be further from the truth. And at the proper time, we definitely prescribe antibiotics because I don't, but my nurse practitioner and MD do, because they're necessary. So, there are alternatives.
Yes, let's talk about that. What are the alternatives to antibiotics?
And that's one of the things that also I feel is one of the major problems for doctors is they don't have any alternatives. And that is part of the problem within our healthcare system right now, is that there are not the alternatives that there should be. And there are many alternatives. There's homeopathy, which is absolutely amazing. There are herbal medicines that can be very safe and extremely effective. There's vitamins and minerals that can be given that can have a huge effect on the pattern of an infection. Chiropractic, acupuncture, we have diathermy, electrical stimulation, we have massage. In other words, there are literally tons of alternatives to be used that, if it is not a bacterial infection that requires an antibiotic, are extremely effective.
Well, let's talk about those. What is homeopathy and how does it work?
Homeopathy has been around for many hundreds of years and became very famous because it stopped a cholera infection that was going to wipe out Napoleon's army. And homeopathy was extremely effective. And interestingly enough, even nowadays, South America, Indonesia had some, both of those had some cholera outbreaks recently. And homeopathy was the thing that actually worked better even than antibiotics. So homeopathy is the law of similars, is what they call that. So what you do is sort of like an allergy shot. Matter of fact, they got the ideas for allergy shots from the homeopathy. And that was where that originated from, which is a little side note. But you give a very, very small dosage of almost a vibrational level of the particular bacterial infection, and the body, the immune system is actually stimulated to fight the infection. Just like an allergy shot, desensitizes the body to different types of grasses or whatever type of allergies. You can also desensitize or sensitize the immune system to certain types of infections and stimulate the body to attack them. We've had many cases in our office where people did actually have even bacterial infections that unfortunately were no longer responsive to antibiotics. And we were able to give a homeopathic tincture to the patient and clear it out in a very short amount of time.
Interesting.
So homeopathy, and then there are also different types of homeopathics that help with different types of symptoms. Belladonna is fantastic for fever, earaches, aconite, belladonna, chamomile. In other words, you can also get a lot of the symptomatology down quicker, let me repeat that, faster with homeopathy than you can even with an antibiotic. So you can get, people are complaining like your friend of these different types of symptoms. Now, one didn't know whether she had a bacterial infection or not, but
no time to find that out.
and that's the nice thing, is that we can give them time because we can give them homeopathics that will change the symptomatology so that they can continue to function. And they happen immediately, which is even really better, quicker than antibiotic. And then we can actually find out, then we have the time to find out, is an antibiotic actually appropriate for this patient?
Okay, when we come back, let's talk about more alternatives to antibiotics. Listen to the Voice of Health Radio on your smartphone or tablet on all of the top radio apps available. TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. You can find these apps and more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. Laughter is the best medicine.
My wife and I, we love watching like Dateline, 2020, those shows. But you know how every week they will feature a disease. And I swear to you, every week, no matter what the disease is, my wife has it. There'll be 3 people on the planet that have this disease. My wife is one of them. She just watches it going, I've got it. I have every one of those symptoms. I'm like, you do not have testicular cancer. You don't even have testiculars.
Are you frustrated by not getting to the root cause of your health issue? Are you tired of not knowing why you're always fatigued? Are you wanting to say no to toxic drugs? Have you lost hope? Are you just tired of being sick and tired? At the Prather Practice, we want you to know that we have the answers for you. We offer the alternative to the disease care model. We are the drug-free model to health and wellness. At the Prather Practice, we look for the underlying cause of your health problem and not just the symptomatology. Through thorough diagnostics, we find your individual health blueprint for your treatment. Where the disease care model is symptom-based, the structure-function model we practice gets to the root of your health issue. The Prather Practice is the most comprehensive wellness center in the Midwest. Our integrated practice offers you the most treatment options to restore your health and your hope. Learn more about the Prather Practice by calling 317-848-8048 or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com.
I was feeling so bad. I asked my family doctor just what I had. I said, doctor.
I'm Lisa Prather, and you're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where we get to the root cause of your health issue. Well, we're talking about the myth of antibiotics, and we were talking about alternatives to antibiotics. Dr. Prather, you talked about homeopathy and how that works. How effective are herbal medicines?
Very, very helpful. I know when the whole SARS epidemic in China actually occurred, there was a lot. They had the best pharmaceuticals, everything like that, but they found that the herbals really were the most effective by Shanghai Medical University. And there are literally thousands of herbals out there that we have available. As a matter of fact, we have electrodermal screening, and we have over 1,000 herbals that could be used to help to boost the immune system, which we can actually check and see which ones work the best. We have some of our favorites out there. A couple of them really you should just have on your shelf on a regular basis. And one of my favorites is elderberry.
Elderberry, yeah.
Is absolutely wonderful for boosting the immune system. It has been around forever, extremely safe. And again, there are definite herbals that you have to be more careful with. Some of them are actually at a pharmaceutical grade, but some of them are just very, very gentle, very excellent type of results, and can be used quite liberally by parents with children.
Right.
And elderberry is probably one of my favorites. Garlic is absolutely fantastic for keeping the immune system boosted.
Great for the breath.
Oh, yeah. But echinacea is great for keeping the lymphatic system moving. And understanding what each of them are for and how they can be utilized. Uva-ursi is also one of my favorites that I use medicinally, but that should be really run by a doctor and prescribed. But there's just tons of herbals that are extremely responsive and gives us a whole wide variety of different types of ability to deal in a much gentler way with people. And so, as we're looking at a combination of homeopathy, herbals just gives us a whole huge arsenal that we can utilize.
And you're talking about things that boost the immune system.
Right. They boost the immune system. Some of them actually have direct antibiotic effects and antiviral. Oregano oil is one of is actually the strongest antifungal. It's actually even stronger than the pharmaceutical antifungals. So there's a whole variety of different types of products that can be used. And
then you smell like a pizza.
Right.
That can be good.
So, looking at some alternatives to the antibiotics, there is actually a plethora that are beyond, both herbal and homeopathic. There's 3,000 homeopathics.
Wow. And that's what's nice about what we do is after the diagnostics, we're able to test specifically what homeopathic would help.
Correct.
Or herbal would help, correct?
Absolutely.
There's no guesswork.
Right, and then, of course, we recheck right away. And one of the nice things is we expect very quick results. Most of the time that we have a child come in with an ear infection, before they leave that day, that ear pain is gone.
Wow. And why is that?
Just because we hit them with the homeopathics, which makes very quick results. We make sure that the tissue around there through chiropractic adjustment, massage, is all cleared up. And then we also use some diathermy on there, and it opens up the lymph system, drains the ear canal. And
eustachian tube.
The eustachian tubes open up. We get a full drainage in there. And all that pressure in the ear is gone before that child actually leaves here, which, parents are just like, oh, thank you.
And so are we. They leave us happy campers.
Yes.
Can vitamin and minerals be helpful to fight infection?
Very definitely. There is so much research on that. It would fill the Pentagon. With all the research on how vitamins and minerals can help with infection. Zinc's very important, vitamin C. Matter of fact, oftentimes when we do give antibiotics, not only do we give the antibiotic, but we also give some different types of vitamins and minerals that go along with it. If you just give vitamin C with an antibiotic, the antibiotic becomes 50% more effective. So not only, in other words, we're looking at a total type of a care package.
Right.
We provide both the structure function care and that disease care with a bacterial infection. Of course, we refer out if anything's more severe. We do refer out to infectious disease doctors or ear, nose, and throat doctors, and we make sure that the patient has the total available care that is best for the patient.
Not just one option.
No, we're not looking at one option. We believe, very strongly in finding out and utilizing the latest and the best of everything that's available.
Let's talk about chiropractic care. How can that help immunity?
If you're one, of course, it helps with the nervous system, and the nervous system is one of the major types of controlling aspects of how our system works. Mm-hmm. So many of the people at this point come in and say, I think I need an adjustment. I'm feeling I got sick. Right. So something's wrong. And because they've been able to tell from the chiropractic adjustments how much less they get infections, mm-hmm. and how that's correlated. I had one patient sit there and said, I have to say, since I started here, not only is my neck and back problem all gone, my sciatica, but I always get sick this time of the year. Mm-hmm. And I haven't gotten sick at all, and my entire family has.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Get them in.
Right. Yeah, that's what they were saying. I'm trying to get them in. Chiropractic, again, is another tool in our belt. Mm-hmm. And has a huge effect on how the body works, not just the nervous system, but the lymphatic system. Structure and function go right hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
I'm thinking of a cancer patient we have right now who's getting chemo. And she said, I just, getting the chiropractic care here and chiropractic adjustments and acupuncture and the auricular therapy. And she said, I don't feel sick at all.
Right.
I don't feel like I have cancer.
Sure. She was saying, she just felt awful. And she had made an appointment to come up and get treated. And she says, this is her first treatment. Mm-hmm. Oh, I should just cancel. I feel horrible. It's just not worth it. I got to drive all the way up there. It's an hour away. But, I made the appointment. I'll just do it. She said on the way back, she just was singing. She had the radio on. She says, that was so worth it. I can't believe it, how much better I feel. And she says, I'm just so glad that I took that step. And they've done several research on cancer patients, and they found that 85% of cancer patients' complaints, discomforts, all those types of things are taken care of if they're doing chiropractic and acupuncture at the same time.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, so you talked about acupuncture, massage, other modalities. How do they help with immunity?
And again, you can get so many types of benefits. One, the acupuncture has been proven to cause anti-inflammatory effects. It releases natural opiates. It actually also releases oxytocin, which actually is your feel-good hormone. Mm-hmm. And, your whole mood elevates with acupuncture, your inflammation. So all those different types of things start to occur. And there's a whole lot more activity in the white blood cells if you're happy and
you know it. Clap your hands.
That's right.
So an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. Have you heard that? What lifestyle changes can help with our immunity?
There are so many different types of things. I mean, there's diet, there's exercise, there's stress. Also getting, making sure that you get all the proper diagnostics done. Just looking at the whole body and how much sleep you get. It's a very interesting story along those lines. I went to a conference where they were doing live cell analysis, and everybody was tired and hadn't eaten well and grumpy. And
you were students at the time, right?
Yeah. And so what they did is they drew our blood, and then actually for each person they drew some blood, and then put it on the screen for us to look at. Mm-hmm. And we found a few people that actually had some infections going on too.
Wow.
And we were watching the white blood cell movement on that. Mm-hmm. So you could actually see them attacking the infections.
That'd be so cool.
It was very, very, very neat. And it was pretty pitiful. Because those white blood cells looked like they did.
Their little faces?
Yeah, they were trying to go around and catch them, and there was nothing happening. In other words, they were getting their butt kicked. Mm-hmm. So what they did is they gave us like a vitamin drink, where we took vitamin C, B vitamins, and all those types of things. Drink it. We watched a short little clip that made us all laugh.
Three Stooges or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, actually, it was a short Three Stooges thing. And then they drew our blood again, and then put it on the screen. And the ones that were having the most problems, they actually showed the difference, and it was remarkable.
Wow.
It was just like, oh, there's a bacteria, and boom. Ooh. All of a sudden, you saw a white blood cell. I mean, where that white blood cell was chasing it, and the thing was doing circles around it. This time, they went after it, and it was just like, boom! It killed it.
If we could each see our blood on a big screen,
I know.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then you can actually see. Yeah, you can see the difference.
Wow. Yeah. We could really see
two
our
things.
blood
Just hitting the vitamins and minerals. And then just laughing a little bit, and there was just such a correlation between, so if you're looking at somebody and they look like, probably their immune system looks the same way.
All right, when we come back, we'll continue the series on the myth of antibiotics. Never miss an episode of The Voice of Health so that you can stay informed and empowered about your health. Get a podcast of our show automatically delivered to you every week by signing up for our show on iTunes. You can find that link on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. And don't forget, thevoiceofhealthradio.com has complete archives of all of our past episodes with an audio library of information to help you add more life to your years and more years to your life. This is The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Voice of Health Wellness Tip with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice.
I consider the blood work to be the blueprint to your health, and we've had several different radio programs on that and talked about how important it is to have at least a yearly complete blood test to find out where you are. The blood is the life force of the body. And it gives an amazing chemical picture of where you are with your health and can actually pick up all the different types of diseases that could be going on. So having a thorough blood test is one of the most important things and is recommended by everyone to make sure that your health is up to where it should be and can actually pick up any type of disease process before it becomes a major factor. So having a good blood test, a good thorough blood test, is one of the most important things that you can possibly have. One of the things that I implemented when I started my practice was a blood test that could actually cover any type of problem that was actually developed that someone could actually experience. So we came up with a profile, we gave it to the labs, but they said, wow, that's a pretty good profile. Do you mind if we offer that to other people? And I said, no, that would be fine, because I feel that that's something that could be very useful. And they named it the Prather profile. So I've actually met with other doctors before and talked to them and said, "You're Dr. Prather. Are you the Prather of the Prather profile?" And I say, yeah, because, they get a list of different profiles. And so it's actually now a national profile. So we actually have 52 different lab tests that are actually included in this profile. It covers everything from A to Z. In other words, any disease process that you could possibly have in your body, that will be covered by this particular blood test. So it is something that should be done by everyone from no matter how young you are to no matter how old you are, at least once a year to see what your health is. If you have a problem, this will actually pick it up. And one of the nice things about that is it is actually covered by insurance. So very excellent way of actually finding out where you are, and if there are any hidden types of problems that are going on, this will actually show it up.
Schedule your appointment at the Prather Practice, 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Or learn more on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice, restoring hope. You're listening to The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather of the Prather Practice, where our mission is restoring hope to our patients. Well, we're talking today about the myth of antibiotics. And Dr. Prather, you gave a statistic that I'm still wrapping my head around, and that was that 833, now this was back in 2010, right. 833 antibiotics were written for every 1,000 people.
Correct. That's how many antibiotic prescriptions were written.
Wow. In 1 year.
Yeah,
okay.
That were filled. So for out of 1,000 people, there was 833 antibiotics written for them.
And that's where this overuse
is coming from, yes.
Okay. So we were talking about in the last segment alternatives to antibiotics, and we want to make sure antibiotics
love antibiotics.
Right. They're
my whole thing is that antibiotics are a precious resource.
Uh-huh.
And we are not only damaging people by overuse of antibiotics because we're injuring their immune system and causing other different types of problems when they don't need it, but also we are injuring the effectiveness of the antibiotics themselves. Mm-hmm. So antibiotics are something that is a lifesaver, mm-hmm. and if we're not careful, we aren't going to have them.
Wow. You called them a resource. I mean...
It is. It is a resource, a precious resource that we need to respect, that we need to utilize correctly. And if you don't use a resource correctly, you will lose it.
Okay. All right. Well, we were talking about the different alternatives to build the immune system up. I mean, that's what's important. And we talked about homeopathic medicine, herbal, vitamins and minerals, chiropractic care, acupuncture, massage. And by the way, congratulations. We just found out today you received the acupuncture again.
Acupuncturist of the Year Award, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very pleased. The patients vote on that, and so I thank all my patients for their support.
Yes. And
really appreciate that designation.
Okay. So let's talk about the role and importance of diet and exercise that, play in the role of immunity. Sure.
Diet plays a huge role. If you don't have a proper diet, you don't have the proper nutrients, your immune system isn't going to work correctly. Mm-hmm. There are many different types of factors that can improve immune function. There's B vitamins, vitamin C. Zinc is absolutely huge. That's one of the very common types of deficiencies that occur. So nutrients are very important. So having a well-balanced diet, if you take in too much sugar and white bread, if you have empty calories, mm-hmm. then you still need the same amount of vitamins and minerals to be able to process them.
Right.
So you deplete your stores if you take too much sugar mm-hmm. and simple carbohydrates into your system without the nutrient backup to it. Mm-hmm. So you can really have quite a few problems. Kids get sick more often right after Halloween and Christmas. Because they take in too much sugar, mm-hmm. and it depletes their nutrient supplies, and that causes the immune system not to work up to par.
What about stress? What role does stress play?
Stress plays a very big role. If you are stressed, it's well proven that your immune system just isn't working up to par. Mm-hmm. It affects the hormones, it affects the endocrine system. All those things are just a very big type of issue. If you're not getting enough sleep, mm-hmm. You're more susceptible. So I always tell people, because I can tell when people are stressed. Mm-hmm. There's certain muscles that go into spasm. There's certain things that occur.
Do they deny it? No, I'm not stressed.
Well, I always say, now I'm writing you a prescription. No more stress.
That'd be a really good prescription. I'd use that prescription. Where do we take that one?
Yeah,
the church?
right to the bank.
So what annual diagnostics should be done to evaluate the body's immune system?
Well, good, thorough blood tests should be done. That really evaluates how the immune system is doing. Also, the other different types of organ systems that could affect that. That gives a very good, clear picture. Every insurance company says, I really want the patients to get an annual thorough blood test. So I always tell people that this is something that everybody wants you done, to have you done, even the people who are paying for it. Because it prevents so many different types of problems. You can pick up on so much along those lines. The other thing that we like to do is tissue minerals. Best way to do that is through the hair analysis. Great way to pick up if you have certain deficiencies that can affect the immune system. Great way to check, especially on the zinc levels. So hair analysis is another way. It also checks up heavy metals. And then one of the big things is that they found that through the new research that they're doing from the National Institute of Health on the gut, just what a critical role gut health plays towards the immune system. So getting an annual stool sample and kit and checking on that. So,
that sounds like fun.
Yeah. But it does. You can get a tremendous amount of excellent information off of that. And I can spit that out. You can get a tremendous amount of information. And most of the time when we do find on the blood test that someone has a weakened immune system, we always make sure that they also have a hair analysis and a GI.
Well, let's talk about the gut, because some of the side effects of an antibiotic, right, is destroying some of the good bacteria in your gut. Correct?
Absolutely.
And, do you recommend, if someone goes on antibiotics, probiotics?
Yes.
Okay.
Really do. It's something that we start right away, even when they are, a lot of people wait until afterwards, but we find really it's best to start right away and then continue them afterwards.
While they're on the antibiotic.
While they're on the antibiotic, and then afterwards to make sure that the gut flora gets back up to par.
Yeah.
Very few people that we do GIs on actually
That's our stool kit.
Yeah, have normal gut flora.
Few people use it.
Very few actually have healthy guts.
Well, let's talk about the antibiotics and what we eat.
Yes, that's a huge factor, and I personally have not ever taken an antibiotic my entire life.
Our kids never have either,
and neither of our kids. And but that doesn't mean that you're not exposed to it. We also get a lot of antibiotics through our meat. Because one of the big things on the push from the Center of Disease Control that plays a very big role is the antibiotics used in farming. And that antibiotic actually does transfer to you. So everybody's getting large amounts of antibiotics even without taking an antibiotic.
Right. Well, I want to make sure we have enough time for the vision for the future.
Okay.
Since this is considered by the CDC as a crisis, the overuse of antibiotics, correct?
Yes.
So are we headed in the right direction, in our healthcare system?
There are some moves that are, trying to head along those lines. Some of the things is that the Affordable Health Care Act, whether you like it or not, is requiring that there's an integration and that what we consider structure function care becomes a part of the healthcare system. Matter of fact, there's a very strong push to make it as the requirement for primary care. The only problem is we don't have enough structure function care doctors to actually
that are getting trained,
that are meeting the need.
The schools need to.
We really need to move in that direction very, very strongly to meet that need, because we do see a balance between structure function and disease care. We need both. And the primary care physician really should be along the lines of a structure function office. Then the specialist works out best in the disease care model. And because it's very difficult to understand all the pharmaceuticals and all the different types of effects on that. So we've got a good system if we can just combine it, get everybody on board, and then also educate the public to actually be seeking those types of care. So there's a very positive movement. People are wanting it. The desire is there, but we do have a problem. Our drug use is actually increasing instead of decreasing. and the antibiotic use is actually increasing, not decreasing. So we have a dichotomy on this. We see the need to move in a different direction, but the numbers really aren't coming about. I mean, this has been going on since 2003, that the CDC has been trying to cut down on the number of antibiotics actually prescribed.
And it's not working.
And it's going up instead of down. So, it's something that the doctors really need to get on board. Patients need to get on board. That's one of the reasons that I saw a need to talk about this. Of course, I'm going to hit it strongly in November when, the antibiotic, responsible antibiotic use week is.
Get Smart Week.
Get Smart Week is what they said. And
Wasn't that a show? Get Smart.
Yeah, we do need to get smart. And we need to get smart with our use of pharmaceuticals. And one of the things that I find rather disturbing, one of the biggest things that we should do, is actually stop drug advertising on TV.
Good luck with that.
That is we're the only country that allows that. So that would be one of the biggest steps.
The Prather practice is located at 8902 North Meridian Street on the north side of Indianapolis, just south of the I-465 loop. If we can help you to achieve better health, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with our office at 317-848-8048. That's 317-848-8048. Join us again here next week or anytime on our website at thevoiceofhealthradio.com for The Voice of Health with Dr. Robert Prather. The Prather Plan weight loss program is safe, comprehensive, medically supervised, and designed just for you. Forget the trendy diets and instead start with a roadmap that actually resets your body's metabolism for optimal fat burning and increased energy. The Prather Plan has 6, 10, or 14-week programs with a proven record of success and with guaranteed weight loss. The Prather Plan is an individualized program that is tailored to your needs to create healthy new habits in your life. You'll receive support from a certified health counselor, a nutritionist, and an exercise physiologist for maximum results. Many weight loss programs can include unhealthy loss of muscle or organ weight. We target your ideal body fat percentage so you can lose body fat in a healthy way where the pounds stay off. Contact the Prather Practice today to schedule a consultation and create a healthier you. 317-848-8048 or on the web at thevoiceofhealthradio.com. The Prather Practice. Restoring hope.